Hello, ma'am. Suleka, ma'am.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am. Can we start, madam?
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Ravindra, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hello, sir. Yeah. Good morning, sir. And good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning. Yeah.
Madam, he is Dr. Ravindra, one of the chair of this conference.
Mhm.
Ravindra, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, sir. Please. Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Yeah. Very good morning to everyone. Very good morning to keynote speaker Dr. Suleka Chattopadhyaya and HOD sir, Phanendra Bobba sir, professors from reputed organizations such as IITs, NITs, IIITs, and universities from India and abroad. Faculties of GRIET, all the organizations and everyone present here to this keynote session of IEEE Second International Conference on Sustainable Energy and Future Electric Transportation, organized by IEEE Department, Bokraj Rangraj Institute of Engineering in Hyderabad, and technically and financially co-sponsored by IEEE IAS USA. On behalf of organizing team of SeFeT, I, Dr. D. Ravindra, deem it a great honor and privilege to introduce the keynote speaker to this session. Dr. Suleka Chattopadhyaya ma'am received her PhD in environmental sciences from the University of California, Riverside. During her tenure for the California Air Resources Board, she contributed to air pollution measurement, inventory development, and implementing mitigation strategies. Her work on particulate matter emission inventory development supported California in Volkswagen's emissions investigation. Besides passenger cars, she has also worked on to develop financial instruments for mitigating emissions from small off-road equipment to the aviation sector. Currently as a senior analyst working for California Public Utilities Commission, she is focusing her efforts on electrifying the transportation sector. She is overseeing the evolution of over $750 million electric vehicle and equipment charging infrastructure installation programs. Her portfolios includes renewable energy integration, vehicle to grid technology, time of use electric rates across passenger cars, trucks, transit, and school buses. All these efforts are driving California closer to meeting its 100% renewable energy goals by 2045. Besides her work in science-based policy development, she is a Fulbright specialist working passionately and tirelessly translating complex scientific information for the consumption of the public. Most recently, she was recognized by US Consulate in Kolkata as a part of 9 ASEAN, American, and Pacific Islanders' contribution to the society in fighting COVID-19. Now, without wasting further time, I would like to hand over session to Dr. Suleka Chattopadhyaya, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ravindra, for
Thank
your
you, ma'am.
kind introduction.
Thank you, ma'am.
It is
Pleasure, ma'am.
indeed a great pleasure to join you all. I sincerely apologize if I sound very exhausted and tired. It's been a very long day. It's almost 9:30 in the night here. But I hope I can give you a nice, interesting talk. You all must have heard a lot of scientific and deep technological seminars this whole conference. So today what I'm going to try and do is explain to you how this valuable science and engineering research gets translated into actual policy that can affect real human beings like all of us here on Earth. So let me try and share my presentation.
Ravindra, sir, can you unshare? Yeah.
Please, could you let me know if you can see my slides?
It's visible, madam. Please, full screen mode, madam.
Okay, actually, if I do full screen, for some reason, my internet is going to cause issues.
Okay.
Is this good enough? I'm trying to zoom it as much as possible.
Good enough, madam. This is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, this is fine.
Yeah, it's as a employee of the state of California, we do not get the most high quality equipment because we are paid by taxpayers. So we have to be extremely careful with how we use public money. So let's talk about transportation. But before I begin on transportation, I would really like to emphasize the theme of today's conference or this conference, which is essentially sustainability for all of us, all human beings on Earth. Because like it or no, this is the only home we all have, no matter where on Earth you are, literally, which side of the globe, we have to take care of it only to save ourselves. Rocks and stones will still survive, but our life on Earth will not. So we have to be very conscious. So I'm going to try and tell you, why is sustainability so important? Why should we only focus on transportation? And what is all this electrifying transportation all about? Aren't there better solutions? Aren't there better options? So let's try. What we have is essentially on Earth is the atmosphere. That is what keeps us living and breathing. And if you try to compare it with any fruit, the best is apples, because we've all heard an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So let's try and be healthy ourselves. And if we also want to try and make our Earth healthy, we have to understand that this fragile atmosphere is something that we have to really take care of. An easy way to understand how fragile or thin the atmosphere is, it's literally like the skin of the apple. So if anyone has eaten an apple in your life, you might have bitten through the skin and you'll understand what thickness it is. So to take care of that requires all of us living beings being careful. One of the other reasons that most elders might have told you, I'm assuming that there are a lot of students here in the audience. I'm sorry I cannot see you all, but quite often we hear from our parents or our grandparents, oh, the weather is changing. It's getting too hot these days. Summers are longer, heat waves are more frequent, the rainfall is really rapid. I do not know what the scene is right now in India with a lot of, I think the monsoons are almost in full bloom. And so there would be places where there's intense flooding. It has already changed. But since we are all engineers and scientists, we don't like to believe someone saying, oh, things are changing. We like to see numbers. We like to see data. And so I'm going to present to you a short film of data that has been collected more than a century ago. This is temperature data. I just want you all to focus on the change in color that happens as we get closer and closer to the current years. So did you notice something? The whole globe has changed from being very pleasantly blue, which is a cooler temperature, to getting really hot. In the news, you might have heard that in England, where it typically rains 360 days of the year, they are facing heat waves. Obviously, India is not an exception. We've had flash floods, forest fires where you will not expect them. Here in California, it is the same situation. There is this huge forest fire that is burning right now as I speak, a few thousand kilometers north of Los Angeles. There have been no such fires in the past. But however, last few years, it has become so normal that in California, we've started calling it the fire season. Like you have winter, autumn, summer, and now we have the fire season. This is unsustainable. And so why do we have to go to transportation? Why can't we look into something else? How do we get from where we are to a better position so that we can brag about that we did not let our earth go completely barren? We can leave it at least as fertile for our children. One of the things that COVID might have taught us just very recently is when there was a lockdown, we had really beautiful air quality. I do not know about you all, but I learned in my school days, the sky is blue. Today, if you look up at the sky, it does not look blue. It looks somewhere like brown. And it was only during the lockdown periods where we found the blue sky back again. That taught us that, yes, our transportation sector was shut down completely, or majority of it. So there is a lot of pollution that comes out from vehicles. And it's not just COVID that showed us. We've known this through a whole lot of research that has been done over more than 5 decades here in California itself. We were the leaders of showing how vehicle pollution causes smog. But you might now think that, okay, I don't really care if the sky is blue or brown. Why does it really matter to me? The reason it matters is because it is also harmful to your health. It is the same air that I am breathing here in LA. You will be breathing over a few weeks. And pollutants do circulate all around the globe. So what happens when you breathe in dirty air? Just try to think, what exactly do we mean by air pollution? Small, tiny particles. And how small you might want to know. Just pick one hair on your head, like just one single hair. Try to squeeze it between two of your fingers. I don't know if you can see me, just like that. And the thickness of that hair, now if you can divide that number by 100, that is how small and fine these particles are that come out from your vehicles. They get lodged in your lungs, and therefore they reduce the capacity for breathing. When you cannot breathe, nothing else matters. Whether you have the best car or the best dress or the best friend. If you cannot breathe, you cannot enjoy life. And then it doesn't really matter. Therefore, we have to take care of our air quality. And now, what is causing that air to go worse is transportation. It's not only our health that is being impacted, but as all our elders have forever told us, health is wealth. And today, we actually have data to show you that every dollar or every rupee that you spend in reducing pollution, you are actually saving $9. Now you convert that into, I don't know what the current currency rate is, 75, 70, 80, it keeps changing. I leave that math to you expert engineers to do. But all I want to tell you is, it's not just your health, it's not just the visibility, it's your pocketbook. Nobody likes to spend money at the hospital. We would like to actually spend that money on things that we like to do. Enjoy food, travel, meet friends, and have a good time. But if this is the case, what are we going to do? The best way that we have learned is we've got to just electrify. Electric vehicles have been in the market since 1916. If you look at this picture, This is from a Chicago newspaper. And so over time, we've now come full circle. We are going back to electric vehicles. The only difference now is we are going to try and have the electricity that is generated for our vehicles to be a cleaner source. It should not be coal, because again, if you burn coal, you are not really solving your air pollution problems. You're spoiling your health, you're spoiling your visibility, and it's going to hurt your pocketbook. So we have to come up with better ways to produce electricity. But just coming up with newer, cleaner ways of producing electricity is very easy to say. The additional advantage of this is we create a whole host of jobs. In trying to transform the grid, which is currently majority of it, at least in India, is supported by coal power. But we have a huge abundance of solar. US and India are actually blessed by a long coastline and plenty of land where you can include solar panels. But what does it need? It needs expert engineers. You need people like you to study hard, work well, and get good work ethics. Then it does not matter which field you are an engineer in, whether you're civil engineers, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, any kind. The world needs your help. Why? Because we found, I'm sure some of your presenters have already talked about this. As you keep on doing more research, we find that solar energy, wind, as well as battery capacity is dropping in cost, and the production is increasing. My y-axis here is actually gigawatts. So you can imagine the amount of energy that has changed in less than 10 years. This data is just from 2016. So where do we go from here? Why? Let's get back to transportation. What happens? Why should somebody like me or you change their cars from diesel or petrol to electric? The biggest advantage is you don't have to visit your mechanic so many times. The cost of operation and maintenance for electric vehicles is really, really low because there's only one thing, battery. That's it. That is the most expensive part in your electric car. Whereas in your petrol or diesel cars, there are so many moving parts. Anything could fail any number of times. The efficiency, we always are worried about how much money we spend. So if you can go more kilometers because you are consuming, you're converting electricity directly to mechanical energy, which is motion. That conversion efficiency is extremely high compared to having fuel being burned. So you need chemical reactions, then you need to convert it into mechanical energy. The other advantage is it's also it's nearly zero pollution and zero noise. But one of the most important factors is your national security. Now, all until now, I've talked about how important it is to you as a person. But think about it as a nation. How about you have one uncle who's been really rude to you, his children behave badly, but you have to go to them to ask them for money. How humiliating is it? Have you ever tried that? Do you think you would do that? That is exactly how nations work. If you do not have enough petrol or oil in your land, you have to go and borrow it from somebody. When you go and borrow it from somebody, it comes with a lot of strings. Then you have to adjust to whatever rate they want to charge you for, and they can change the rate as and when they want to. When it comes to solar energy, remember the sun cannot raise his rates or her rates or lower them. It's a fixed amount of energy that comes to you. It's up to us to convert it into electricity. Well, now let's say we've converted it into electricity and we've got lots of electric cars everywhere. Can these cars really make money for me? Is it just a car again, like any regular petrol vehicle? I don't think so. It's a little more than that, because now it's like a battery on wheels. You can actually have your vehicle take you from place A to place B, open a shop, open a tea stall or a coffee stall just by the roadside. You can also provide electricity for someone whose phone battery is dying down. And I think many of us have experienced that. You're going somewhere and you suddenly realize, oh, there's no charge on my phone. What do? If you are in an electric vehicle, all you can do is just plug in and your phone will be ready to go. Now, the owner of that vehicle can charge you. So that is another place where you can earn extra money. What else can we do? Now that I've explained so much of social importance of electrifying transportation, let's look at why and where we need engineers. One of the biggest challenges is developing what we call electric vehicle supply equipment, or EVSEs. You want to have a uniform standard for them. You want to make sure that those chargers are reliable. So we want engineers to come up with standards. IEEE has a very good standards committee, and we're looking forward to them to come up with good standards that we can request the industry to implement. So one of the roles that policymakers like me and others do is basically guide the industry and the research. The researchers are the ones who basically come up with new ideas and improved standards. We then implement them and say, if you want to market a certain technology, you must meet these standards. Why do we do that? So that there is uniformity. Otherwise, imagine right now, if you travel from one country to another, you will find that you'll have to carry an electric phone charger converter. The socket that you put in your plug-in is different for different countries. But within India, it is the same. It's just the same 3-pin connector. How does that happen? Because policies are made so that industry abides by that. The same goes in the US. Every nation has developed a specific charging port all over. However, because electric vehicles are so new and new techniques are coming up, the very first one was 1772, but then it's now changing. Earlier we had CHAdeMO, and then there's another one from China, another one from Japan. But because this industry is so spread out and so globalized, we policymakers are requesting everyone to come up with a single standard so that when you buy, whether you buy a car here, which is manufactured in Mexico or Canada or India, it will have the same standards. Well, these standards are developed by Society of Automotive Engineers. I'm looking forward for SAE standards, at least for communications. Having developed standards, one of the challenges with renewable energy is what is called this famous duck curve. I think all of us have grown up experiencing what is load shedding. Your exams are coming, the heat temperature outside is 40 degrees centigrade and more, and power is cut. That is really not a pleasant experience, no matter what age you are, no matter whether you're a college student or a working class. It is really impossible. The disadvantage of renewable energy is it dips down right when you need it the most. between 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. is when everyone is coming home, they're getting ready to make their dinner, and there is power cut. Why? Because the sun has gone down. Now, we in California have set ourselves a goal to get to 100% renewable by 2045, which means that this belly of the duck needs to be filled up. We would like to have this orange curve go straight up as best as possible. What can be done for that? One opportunity is we can use our cars. The battery in the car can power our grid and then power our home. This is vehicle to grid technology. Now, if it can power the grid, it can directly probably power your home or a school or a disaster area. I mean, when you are having a battery, you basically are carrying power anywhere you go. And I think all of us like to be powerful. I hope I have convinced you why sustainability is important and why we need to connect the roads with our grids. We cannot let these two run in parallel. There is opportunity for a lot of jobs to be created, a lot of money to be saved, and a lot of environmental benefits. Of course, to avoid load shedding. And I'm really happy that we did not have any power cut during my presentation today. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you so much for paying attention.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions from the participants? Please write it in the chat box. So, madam, I have one question here. In India, still we are very like if you consider the compared to USA and other Europe and China, our government is saying that we have to promote the EVs by 2030. 30% of the vehicles should be electrified. The thing is now today's scenario is around 0.3%, 0.5% vehicles are electrified till now. So what do you say about this action? We can is it possible to achieve the target, or what is your view on that actually? Whether we can be able to do that, or how much time it will take for us to electrify at least 30% of the vehicles in India? What is your view on that? Because you are the analyst for the USA, so what is your view on that point actually?
I think this is an extremely important and very good question. So thank you for asking me. So let's look at it this way. The government has set a target. I'm sure they have. How do we set targets? Let me tell you that first. One of the things that we typically do is we say, where is the industry today? What is their manufacturing capacity? So we go talk with, that is one of the reasons why I'm also a member of SAE. So we go and meet automakers. We interact with their battery manufacturers. We have discussions and ask them, if we have to transition California's 30 million cars to zero emission tomorrow, what would you need? Obviously, they'll say it cannot be possible tomorrow. It's going to be because you need to come up with certain factors. You need to have raw materials. So you need to do mining for batteries, or you need to purchase it from somewhere. So where is your source? Okay, so that is going to take some time. So you put in a buffer of, let's say, 3-year time period. Then you add in ×2, you need to manufacture the batteries. You need to couple the battery manufacturing along with the engineering these chain engineering that goes on in your vehicle manufacturing. The biggest sort of challenge that we are facing, and I think it would be the same or almost similar for India. Hopefully not, because we are the ones who are facing it first. So if we can transform that knowledge down there, that will be great, is the charger. Because you have the electric grid. See, car manufacturers already have their chassis. We are not changing the chassis. We are only changing the internal combustion engine. So the bulk of the machinery is there. So you figure out how to manufacture, how many batteries you need, what is the range of the battery that is needed. Obviously, the range that is needed for us over here is going to be very different from the range that's needed in India. What is the grid capacity? How far do people typically travel? So we do travel demand modeling. We actually go collect data and figure out what is the average distance somebody travels. So like in California, it's roughly 30-35 miles every day, which is about 70 kilometers, little more than that. So let's assume that typically people drive 10 kilometers in India every day. Now, how many people drive 10 kilometers in India? To drive that 10 kilometers in India, where would you need to install those chargers? You do not want to get ready and go to work, and halfway in between, your charge is over and you're stuck. So you want to make sure that your battery capacity at least is 10 times your actual need, so that you go from point A to point B. The next most important thing is your grid reliable? Because where you charge is going to be very important. So what we are doing is we are implementing programs where the way the government is working is most of the electricity generated in California is private. It's not public money. So privately owned corporations, when they sell electricity to normal people, we regulate them by saying you can increase the rate at which you charge per unit. Let's say you're paying 2 rupees per unit. We'll say, okay, you can increase it by 5 paisa. That increase comes back to the government. We use that money to supplement or incentivize or give rebates to those who are going to purchase electricity. So everybody puts in 5 paisa per head per unit, and that extra money goes back into the society to those who want to purchase electric vehicles. So we are providing advanced incentives. At the same time, we are also regulating. So it's sort of like a carrot and a stick. So in case of India, I think there are sort of urban centers are where your pollution is the most. There are also places, they are also the economic sort of heartbeat of the society. So you want to encourage a lot of economic activity in cities, but you also want to improve the air. And one way, as I said, is to have electric vehicles. But electric vehicles right now are extremely expensive. The advantage of purchasing an electric vehicle is if you can improve renewable energy, and I think India is doing an excellent job on that. We are really pushing hard to get solar, and in some places they're producing excess solar than how much the grid can actually handle. So it's not something that it cannot be done. It just needs there are typically 3 things that we always look for. There has to be guidance from the policymakers. There has to be encouragement in both financial and academic support for industry to rely on. And the third is society needs to realize the importance. So you have to be able to communicate to everybody that, look, you might find your 70 lakh car, which is running on diesel, good for you right now because diesel is cheaper than petrol. and your electric vehicle is 100 lakhs. So you might think, why am I purchasing such a big one? The advantage of buying a bigger, more expensive, cleaner car is you're saving in health. And I think all over the world, people have realized that no matter, at the end of the day, it's your health that matters. I mean, COVID has really taught us something.
Yes, yes.
I hope I've answered your question in a very long about way.
In a broader way, like from a broader perspective, and then you touched upon different components. In what way we can go forward for achieving this electrification in India? That's true, madam. Whatever you said is true. And then if especially the government and then industries and academicians come together, definitely we can reach that, whatever the target is. And there is one question, madam, like by 2045, you are saying that in California, the target is 50%, madam, by 2020.
Yeah, we've already reached 60% renewable penetration. We
So
had one day where we had actually 100%. Entire California was surviving on only renewable energy.
So now by 2045, it is 100%, madam. You are expecting by 100%. So the question here is by 2045, say you have achieved your target 100%, it calls for increasing the production of in electricity, which in turn increases carbon footprint unless it is fully renewable. Do you think it will lead to net zero?
That is the goal. That is the goal.
Okay. So that means you want to power the EV from 100% renewables.
Yes.
That is the goal. Yeah.
That is the goal.
Okay.
And it is not a small goal for us in California. If you consider how much we drive, every day, the number of miles that we drive, cumulative, is equal to the distance between Earth and Saturn.
Oh.
Yes, that is the amount of driving that is being done. And that is the amount of fuel that we spend. So now if you think of converting the roadways and marrying them with the electric grid, along with maintaining all the other power demands that are there in the state. It's not just the roads, right? Electricity is used for everything else. There's industry, there's commercial, there are homes. You cannot just have an electric car, but everything else is dark. So that is the challenge. And we are trying to work along with a lot of research that is going on in the UCs. A lot of collaboration is going on with the industry. We are having multiple pilot programs. I mean, I was involved in about 40 pilot programs. We are actually going to have a seminar in August, on 23rd of August. If anyone is interested in listening in how we evaluate our programs, our evaluator is going to provide a seminar. It'll be night in India, so I do not know how well. It's at 10 o'clock our time, so it will be 10:30 p.m. in India. If anyone is going to stay up in the night for an hour, I can definitely share the link with you.
Definitely, madam. We will be there. We will be there. So 1 hour means we will be managing. We will try to manage that.
Okay, I can then, I will share the link with you. I have your email address and your LinkedIn. I will definitely, you will at least get a glimpse of how we proceed, like how we develop pilot programs, which ones do we select, which sectors are supposed, at different stages, what are we looking for? One of the things that we are trying to figure out is most of our focus is going to be on disadvantaged communities, because it is the poorer communities who are the ones who bear the biggest brunt of everything. Whenever there is a food shortage, the poor people are the ones who die. Whenever there is a power cut, the poor people are the ones who suffer. Whenever there is any natural calamity, it's the poor who suffer the most. So on a humanitarian basis, one of the things that California has taken its lead on is this economic divide needs to be reduced. It's not just getting the roads and the grid connected, but at the same time, you want to make sure that progress and prosperity is for everybody.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, madam. So,
You're welcome.
you have given wonderful talk, like you have touched upon the importance of the theme of our conference, especially sustainable energy and transportation, and then what is importance of saving our atmosphere, and then air pollution and health impact and economic impact. All these things you have touched upon, and then importance of electrification, and you said 100% renewables by 2045 in California. It's a nearly if you achieve that, it's a everyone look into that, and then they will also follow the same guidelines for making it electrification, like especially India. By 2030, we are planning at least 30%, 30% electrification. But we have to look into that, how much we can achieve that target. So thank you very much, madam, for spending the valuable time, and then even you managed from yesterday's to today, and then you joined the session. Actually, it's really thank you very much, and then a small token of appreciation from our side. I'll be sharing the screen, madam, once. A small token of appreciation from our organizing committee side. Thank you very much, madam, for sharing. I'll be sharing this in your email.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Good night, madam. Good night. Night, madam. Thank you, madam. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye, madam. I'll be in contact with you. Thank
Sure.
you. Yeah. Thank you. Anil, you raised the hand. Do you have any question, or I think there is a session going on, right? Anil? Okay, please be available here. There is a session at 11 o'clock, so we'll be starting in another 10 minutes. Thank you.